and this is a bit bizarre coming from someone who works for a technology company, technology is not the answer. It's not the tech that leads this stuff, it's what you're doing. So if we look at this and we look at some of the facts around this stuff, 98% of all text messages are opened. That's a pretty big open rate overall. If we look at Twitter and Facebook, which are, you're probably spending a lot of your time talking about Twitter and Facebook. We talked about Twitter earlier, and they are very important. But when you look at that, 84% of Facebook newsfeed stories aren't viewed. Yeah? There's a lot of stuff going on there, but we're able to focus ourselves much more using SMS. 58% of Facebook users log in daily. 57% check their emails fewer than 4 times a day. But people look at their phone on average about 150 times. Now, I showed this to some people internally at Blackboard, and they said, no, I don't. And that's exactly what they do. You're in a lift, you're in any sort of awkward situation. You're standing in a lift with someone. The first thing that people do nowadays is do that. It's replaced it, as a thing to do. So you do look at your phone. The phone is constantly there. Every 24 hours, there are 3.2 billion likes and 300 million photos uploaded to Facebook. Every 24 hours, there are 6.4 billion text messages sent. So the numbers are there. You can start to see the numbers as you're using them. These things people are using every single day, and we just need to start getting more au fait with that. Some organisations have had some spectacular results with SMS fundraising. So you've got Comic Relief in 2010, 15.1 million in texts. The American Red Cross, $43 million from the Haiti crisis, just from text. The Disasters Emergency Committee, their East Africa appeal had £1.5 million just through text messages, and 70% of those people signed up for Gifted. Fantastic. I saw last night on the One Show, you had the guys that are taking a rickshaw across the country, and they're raising money, and in 4 days they've raised 315,000 through text messaging. But these are the exception rather than the rule currently. And the reason for that is it's easy when you've got the TV behind you and you've got it constantly in people's faces and you've got all these great stories that are happening to keep this going. Which takes me on to number 2, which is your story is still key. So, both Grant and Howard both mentioned this earlier. The content is so important. Your story is what will actually bring people in. Just going and saying to people, "Can you give me a text? Give me a donation by text and donate to 70004." It's not going to work. We found it's not working. We have to look at it in a different way. So, first example that I want to show you here is one from Sparks. You may have seen this. It's on the tube, which is a bit of a strange one, having something like this on the tube because you can't text. But some of this is people will remember it, and also this particular one here is actually a leaflet that's gone out to House of Fraser users. And on the back of it is more information about what they want, and then text donation to 70004 and sending it out. So a good example of an organisation using leaflets and things like that, just traditional media, but embedding this stuff in there. Okay. Number 3. Third one is most important. Mobile doesn't stand alone. I've seen so many organisations when I go out and I talk to them about this stuff, and they say to me, "We've tried it. It didn't really work." But they tried it separate to everything else we're doing. So they were out there with a message, and then they tried to tack on a mobile ask for something completely separate. So I want to show you something that Prostate Cancer have been doing with their mobile stuff. So they've got this, for £3 you could be on your way to Wembley. It's part of their whole football-related work that they're doing. They have a website on there where people can pick their number 9s. So football supporters can come in and say, right, here are my favourite number 9 for my team. They go in there and they vote on it, and there's a whole community going on with that, but tacked off of that, they've had a little competition. And the competition, if we just have a look at this is one of the videos, they produced lots of these.
For £3 you could be on your way to Wembley, and we could be on the way to Brackley Prospect County. Text FL in Reading to 82772 with a chance to win tickets to Empower Wales at Wembley and the experience money passed on.
Okay, so that particular one, that was for Reading. They did one for each of the Football League clubs. Let's fair enough, that's not the most exciting of speakers in the world. But importantly, what they were trying to do is people can go in, they can vote for their club, and if their club gets into the playoffs, they have a chance of winning a trip to the playoffs. Now, this has started slowly. Now, the reason why it started slowly is the beginning of the season. We're getting text messages from all over, from various different teams. But as the season goes on, and as the teams start to, it starts to become fairly obvious which teams are going to make it to the playoffs and which teams aren't, I believe we'll start to see a lot more coming from this. And I know a lot of you are thinking, right, he's talking about football now, I'll move on. But that's a good example of what we've mentioned earlier about keeping, making sure you know your audience. In prostate cancer, the football stuff is important to their audience.